Well, hey everybody, and welcome to the first installment of Tanner Tells. Basically, in these videos, if you're a nerd like I am, you always have a lot of stories to tell. Whether it is with Dungeons and Dragons, RPGs, LARPing, card games, or anything like that. And I come from a family that's really big into telling stories and, telling epic tales of the past. And I really kind of want to do that for some of these videos just because I think they're really enjoyable stories, and I thought that you all might actually enjoy hearing them. So, this first installment, I want to talk about something that was really big for me. It's really big in my college career, and that is humans versus zombies. Here at Ohio University, there is a big emphasis on humans versus zombies. We have a very unique style of play. If you want to learn more, I suggest just look it up on the HVZ Wikia page. Could probably explain the OU style of play, and as well as a couple of other people from around these areas. So it's a very unique way of playing. It's very honor based, and it's very heavily story oriented. So, as you can tell, there is a lot of stories to be had, and this one is really coming from the midweek mission of the last game's fall game, which I like to call the Gauntlet. Here's how basically the game goes. For OU students, usually the midweek mission, there's like a mission every day of the 7 days that we're playing. The midweek mission kind of represents the turning point. This is whenever the humans lose a lot of forces and it really becomes the humans are now just trying to survive. The tides have turned and the zombies are really in favor instead of the earlier days where the zombies are very outnumbered and the humans are easily winning. Um, and an interesting way that we've been playing, and we played this in the spring game last year and the fall game this year, is that there is a time machine mission where people who have died get to come back to life. So that was the big theme here for this midweek mission whenever we were doing this. Alright, so we start off the midweek mission, and I show up at the human meeting place. By this time, the strike team I was in at the time, which I am no longer affiliated with, our leader Blake was dead. He died earlier that day while walking to class, which basically it left me and 3 rookies. 2 of which were freshmen. I think the other one was a sophomore who just started to get into the game, and it was me leading these three newbies. 2 of which are my friends Jerry and Colin, who I kind of discovered while playing this game, and the other one was Blake's friend Pat. And so I was in charge of these 3 new guys in this big resistance group. Basically, our mission was, I kind of forget the storyline of it, but basically we were running a gauntlet where we were going down the various back alleys here in Athens, and the whole point was that we just slowly die off one by one until we reached Morton Hall, where the game would restart. So we start off, we're going through the first gauntlets. Pat dies off really quickly. He died off, I think, in the second alleyway, whenever we lost a lot of humans due to, there was a big bottleneck, and the zombies attacked us from behind, and they attacked us from the front, and we were the lucky few survivors, so Pat was just one of the unlucky few that died off really quickly. So it's pretty much like we're down to, like, I think already, as we're just starting this, we're down to like 30 humans at most. As far as hardcore players like myself, it was like me, another guy named Roddy, the leader of Razorflight Rico, one of the contributors, Ian, who was playing Abatron Lincoln, who was basically cybernetic Abraham Lincoln, and Fluffy from Shiny Falcons, as well as Jerry and Colin, of course. So, and the rest were kind of casual players, if that. There were people I didn't really recognize, but there was about 30 of us left. We go to the second alleyway, and I'm front and center because I had I had a gun who had long range, and I was and usually the hardcore players usually push towards the front and kind of lead the casual players along to kind of establish, we are the experienced players, we're going to help you all out. Well, I'm up front, and I'm against this wall, and against the wall is this little curve. Well, the zombie horde charges, and directly in front of me was this player who was on the strike team, the Assassins of Equestria, which is a My Little Pony based team. He was wearing a really cool looking rainbow dash hat, which I think they made themselves, and if they did, props to them because they looked phenomenal. But I see him charging at me, and all of a sudden he kind of, as they're running, once you're in full tilt, it's really hard to stop. But he's running and he trips over the curb. Well, he trips over the curb at the same point the horde behind them is still running and hits the guy, and he was at the exact level of my testicles. And sure enough, the 150-pound battering ram that was the Rainbow Dash wearing player goes straight into the old baby makers, and I am floored. I mean, this wasn't just like, oh, you hit my nuts. This was like, if it were a jackpot, it would have paid. If it was a slot machine, it would have paid. It would have shelled out the coins. I was on the ground, fetal position, holding the cash and prizes. At that point, like, I had like one zombie clawing at my non-bandana arm, so I wasn't dying. Eventually, like, there was like 3 of the human players that were like literally just like backing the zombies off. Like, this guy's really in pain. And I knew I had to get up and keep going. I couldn't just lay there all night. And I'm not one just to quit, so I stand up and I'm still moving along, but it's hurting. It's hurting bad. It's like on the verge of throwing up, and I'm still moving along. And by that point, Rico, Ian, all of them are dead. It's down, down, down to like, pardon, I said down, down, down. It's boiled down to now about 20 players, including, I think, Roddy was still alive. I remember Roddy was. Jerry was still alive. And Fluffy was still alive. So, basically what happens is we get to the next alleyway, and literally I'm just like, I see what they're doing here. Like, they didn't explain that this was going to be the time machine mission, but I could tell. It was not that hard to figure out that I'm either going to get a chance to come back to life. So I'm just like, I need a rest. I need a rest. I need to sit down. I'm coughing. I'm about to throw up. My manly bits just are in utter pain. So I kind of go out in the blaze of glory. I charge the horde. I shoot, I think, 1 or 2. Yeah, I shoot like 1 or 2 of them. And I run down this alleyway. My friend Mike, who's wearing a Spartan helmet, who's been wanting to kill me the entire game, chases me down and catches me. So, at that point, it was like a moot point. There was down to like 10 at that point. The horde moves on. We get to Morton. There's still 6 people still alive. They're just kind of, they look worn down. The only person I recognized was Fluffy. There was Fluffy. There was 2 guys that I recognized. I didn't know their name or the strike, but I recognized them. They were players before, and then there were like 3 casual players. And it was literally like 6 against 140. It was hilarious. And I remember I got 1 kill. There was this, I feel so bad for this poor little girl. She didn't look a day over 18. If she was in college, she was a freshman. She was probably one of the high school players. But she looked positively petrified, and she's holding a whiteout Maverick, and if anybody who plays HVC understands, and also Nerf guns, the whiteout series really kind of sucks. So usually whiteouts are a way of recognizing people who don't normally play this game. And I see this poor girl, and she shoots off 2 rounds. I think like 1 goes way over. 1 actually luckily hits 1 person. And eventually, like, the gun runs out, and she's still firing, and I wrap her, and she's honestly on the verge of tears. She's like, I shot you, and I'm like, honey, you've been dry firing for like 4 rounds. And the poor girl, I mean, she's almost on the verge of tears. She did not want to become a zombie, and I like look at her and I'm like, listen, don't worry. It's okay. You'll have a chance to come back. This is the whole point. And sure enough, we all get called into Morton, and we're told what is going to happen. We were forced into teams of 6. All the humans that were humans at the beginning of the midweek mission would have a chance to come back. And we were put into teams of 6. Here's what happens. We had to cross Morton parking lot. If we were able to make it across Morton parking lot without being turned, we would get to be human again. If we didn't, we were zombie. Alright, let me explain this to you. Morton parking lot is about 45 to 55 yards. It's a pretty long, it's a decently sized parking lot, but imagine half a football field and now fill that with like 150 people who are ready to kill you, and you're 6 people who have to make it to the 50-yard line. This is a really fucked up challenge. And all the humans were just like, this is bullshit. And it was. It was complete bullshit, but we had to do it. We had to do this. So, here's the thing. We all split into groups of 6, and everyone's trying to come up with these, like, unique strategies of, like, here's what we're going to do. We're going to get to a line of fire and all this stuff. And in my head, I'm just like, here's what we're going to do. We're going to take off in a full sprint, and just whoever makes it, makes it. That's what I was aiming for. But I was in a group with Colin, Jerry, myself, Fluffy, and 2 others. I didn't know the other 2. And we get out there, and my testicles are still killing me. I walk out there, and I'm bow-legged. I look like, I think one of my friends actually was like, he looked like John Wayne just standing out there bow-legged, and I'm like, that's because I was trying to suck up the pain that was deep within my loins. I was front and center, and along with Fluffy. Fluffy was a sock bomber, and the second that the mod said go, we took off. And, someone tried to hold on to Fluffy's little strategy. Mine was just run, 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 run. I make it across the parking lot alive. Fluffy and Colin did too. The other 3 didn't make it. Jerry didn't make it, which was the one thing I was sad about, because it was kind of like I was supposed to watch Jerry's back, but I was kind of concerned with saving my own ass, and Jerry was kind of weighted down by his bag, so that is... So what is the moral? I don't know really much of the moral of this story. I just think it's kind of a fun story to tell. It's one of those classic HVZ stories of we are butt-fucked in this game, and now you have to ascend above and beyond the normal in order to survive, and that's really what happened to me here. I took an Assassins of Equestria to the Baby Makers, and then I had to go through the rest of this challenge, which was very running-oriented, with the extreme pain, and I end up still staying human until I eventually die in a blaze of glory because I was tired of being human later on. But that is a story for another time. And I think I am pretty much done for this one. So, I guess that is it. I hope you enjoyed my story, and stay tuned for another edition of Tanner Tales.